Hello again, my name is Daniel, and welcome to my channel. I'll be creating videos about faith, exploring theology, testimonies, history, and everything else that's related to Christianity. So, why don't you join me, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another video. On this day, we celebrate Resurrection Sunday. He is alive, alive indeed. Now, what is that, you may ask? We believe it is the day that Jesus rose from the dead after he was crucified, and then on the third day, he rose again after he was placed in a tomb. So the question is, did he really rise? And what happened after he was buried? Let's find out in this video. He is risen. In this special Resurrection Sunday episode, we dive into the powerful meaning behind the empty tomb and why the resurrection of Jesus still transforms lives today. Whether you're new to faith or you've been a believer for years, we believe that this short, powerful message will give you hope and deepen your understanding of Easter's true significance. So, the book of Mark is actually the earliest gospel account and the first eyewitness testimony that we have for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So, historically, yes, Mark is the first one, earliest manuscript that it was produced. And what you'll see is if you look at Mark 16, in nearly every modern day translation of the Bible, in Mark 16, you'll see a note saying that some manuscripts finish at verse 8, whereas others include verses 9 to 20. So, I'm not going to delve into why some don't have it and why some do have it and all those type of things. I just recently watched a video by Wesley Huff, who I love watching, and I recommend you check out that video where he talks about the missing piece or the non-missing piece, and he was basically saying that the style and the tone of the original Greek of Mark, the verses 9 to 20 are actually a different tone and most likely not written by Mark. But that story's for another day, and that's not what we're here to talk about today. But it is a fascinating video if you ever get a chance to see it. So I encourage you to look at it. Look it up on YouTube when you can. So it still has information about the actual resurrection, though, in the manuscripts that have all the parts of Mark. So up until verse 8. So here's what it says in Mark, actually, and we're going to just take a look at the last chapter and the resurrection part. So it says, when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they may go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. And they were saying to one another, who will roll away the stone for us to entrance into the tomb? And looking up, they saw the stone had been rolled back. It was very large. And entering the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, dressed in a white robe, and they were alarmed. And he said to them, do not be alarmed. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. But go tell his disciples and Peter that he's going before you to Galilee, that you will see him just as he told you. And they went out and fled from the tomb, for trembling and astonishment had seized them, and they said nothing to anyone, for they were afraid. Could you just imagine that? You turn up to the tomb on the Sunday, and you've got the embalming tools, and you've got the oils, and you see that the stone has been rolled away. You must be thinking, oh gosh, what has happened? Someone has taken him. And inside it was empty. And then all of a sudden they see an angel in a white robe and says that Jesus is risen and no longer there. Could you just imagine that? Just imagine what would be going on in their heads. No wonder they were afraid and astonished and were trembling. And they would have been completely godsmacked. And it's significant that it was the three women that found this empty tomb, and it was them that they were told to go and tell the disciples and Peter. So it mentions the disciples, but why do you think Peter was the person that was really highlighted here? Like, it doesn't mention any of the other disciples, but Peter is significantly mentioned. And I think it is because in the book of Acts, we eventually see that Jesus restores Peter. And Peter obviously denied Jesus 3 times. And then in the book of Acts, it's wonderful because Jesus actually restores him 3 times, and that's a beautiful passage to go through when you get a chance. And it's a highly recommended story about the restoration of Peter as a disciple. But let's just go back a little bit more and back up a bit, shall we? So in Mark 15, the previous chapter, the final words of Jesus were, "It is finished." And then the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom because there was an earthquake at the time as well. Now, this wasn't just a light curtain, just one that you have on your window or anything like that. This was solid. It was thick. You wouldn't have been able to break it with human hands. And it was shredded in two. Now, the significance of this is, in Jewish culture, the only way to get into that temple was you had to make yourself pure and holy. And the priests were the only ones that actually could get in the presence of God. So by that veil or curtain being torn in two, that meant that we no longer had to go to the temple to worship God, because we could have God living in our hearts through Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So it's a significant symbol of, God now dwells within us rather than in a temple, which is just a beautiful symbol of what he did after Jesus died on that cross and rose again. Now, the 3 women who found the empty tomb were also the ones that were witnessing his death at the time as well in 15. And then a wealthy Jewish man offered to bury Jesus in one of his tombs, and they then wrapped him in linen shroud and laid him there, and the stone was rolled against the tomb. And then in some of the other Gospels, it mentions that there was guards being placed there to prevent the body from being taken. So they took all measures to prevent anyone from trying to steal Jesus away, basically. Now, if we move over to the Gospel of Matthew, and if we have a look at what it says at the end of Matthew, in verse 8, it says, "So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. 'Greetings,' he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, 'Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. They will still see me.'" So Jesus here is actually appearing to these women and told them not to be afraid because he was alive. And then he said, "Go and tell the rest of them that he was alive," and then he would see them in person. You see, he was proving to lots of people that he was alive. He wasn't just showing up to 1 or 2 people. He was showing up to a multitude of people just so people could witness that he had risen. Now, after these women had ran away, the guards themselves, they were extremely afraid as well, and they went to tell the chief priests. And they told them everything that they'd seen. And then the chief priests decided to try and cover it up. And they gave them large sums of money and told them to say that the disciples came in the middle of the night and stole the body. And it was also going to protect the soldiers as well, because they didn't want it getting out what had happened. But it did. And then it spread. So the biblical text in 1 Corinthians 15:6 states that Jesus appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time. And this appearance is mentioned as part of evidence that he resurrected. So over 500 people saw him at one time, as well as the other times that he showed up to other people. So he not only appeared to many, but he also spoke to many as well and gave them instruction. And this includes the Great Commission, which can be seen in Matthew 28:16-20. And I'll read it for you here. And it says, "Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountains where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came and said to them, 'All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely I'm with you always, to the very end of the age.'" Such a powerful story, isn't it? And so articulately worded that we are to go out as disciples. And it's a story that led to our salvation and redemption through believing in him. You see, he conquered death and he conquered sin once and for all. And this is why Jesus has called us to go make disciples of all people. We're to share the good news of salvation to everyone. And we can all disciple people, anyone. You don't need to be qualified to do it. You just need to be a believer in Jesus and trust in his word, follow his word, and we can disciple others and share the good news. Because God came down and became human so that we could live. He came and was resurrected so that we can revive and resurrect our souls from the darkness and death which we were headed for. So what are your thoughts on that story and on the resurrection? Do you celebrate this Easter? Do you celebrate this magnificent day where he rose from the dead and he stole those keys of death from and hell from the devil, from the enemy? It's a wonderful time to reflect and celebrate on Jesus and what he's done for this world. And yeah, if there's any other topics that you want me to cover in my channel and anything that you want me to talk about culturally, just let me know in the comments and I'll take it into consideration and we'll look at it. And if you like this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.